The command deck of Odyssey's call hummed with quiet anticipation. The view through the forward viewport was a tapestry of stars, unbroken and infinite, but there was a tension in the air that spoke of something more. Captain Layla Diaz stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the distant void. She wasn't a woman who feared the unknown. In fact, she thrived on it. Uncharted territory, she muttered to herself, the words tinged with both excitement and challenge. Behind her, the diplomatic delegation from the Galactic Council shifted uneasily. Ambassador Kriltov, a gelatinous being from the bureaucratic Koran species, wobbled in his containment suit. His eye stalks darted nervously between Layla and the viewport. Captain Diaz, Kriltov began, his voice high-pitched and wavering, I must once again implore you to reconsider. The Galactic Charter explicitly discourages exploration into uncharted sectors without thorough preparatory analysis. The risks are unknown, Layla interrupted, turning to face him with a sharp grin. That's the point, Ambassador. We didn't get this far by playing it safe. Kriltov's suit emitted a frustrated gurgle. This is not about bravery, Captain. It is about survival. Every recorded attempt to explore the Veil Cluster has ended in disaster. Ships vanish. Crews are lost. Entire missions erased from existence. Does that not concern you? Layla crossed her arms, her expression unyielding. We've studied the records, the anomalies, the strange energy signatures. It's exactly why we're here. Humanity doesn't turn away from a challenge. We face it head-on. A murmur of agreement rippled through her crew. Humans had a reputation in the galactic community, reckless, daring, even suicidal at times. To the other species, their behavior bordered on madness. To Layla, it was simply human nature. Dr. Raj Patel, the ship's lead xenologist, leaned over from his station. Captain, the ambassador does have a point. The Veil Cluster's reputation isn't baseless. If something happens to us out there, then we figure it out, Layla replied, her tone resolute. That's what we do. We adapt. We survive. Kriltov let out a low, bubbling sigh. I fear your kind's peculiar optimism will be the death of us all. Layla turned back to the viewport, her voice steady. Optimism didn't put us on the moon, or Mars, or the stars. It's not optimism, Ambassador. It's determination. And it's why we're going to succeed where others failed. The ship's AI, Athena, broke the tense silence with her calm, mechanical tone. Captain, we are approaching the Veil Cluster boundary. Gravitational anomalies detected. Recommend reducing speed to avoid hull stress. Understood, Athena, Layla said. Helm, bring us to half speed. Maintain course. Aye, Captain, replied Lieutenant Mason, the ship's pilot. The view ahead began to shift. The stars seemed to warp and shimmer, as if seen through a heat haze. The Veil Cluster wasn't just uncharted, it was actively hostile to exploration. Gravitational distortions, radiation spikes, and inexplicable sensor malfunctions had turned back countless missions. As Odyssey's call crossed the threshold, the ship shuddered, its hull groaning in protest. Lights flickered briefly, and the AI spoke again. Structural integrity holding at 92%. Gravitational fluctuations intensifying. All systems report, Layla ordered, her voice calm despite the tension. One by one, the crew confirmed their stations. The ship was holding together, but the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm. Then the sensors went wild. Alarms blared as data flooded the screens, an overwhelming cacophony of information. Captain, shouted Lieutenant Mason. Something massive ahead. Gravitational signature off the charts. Layla strode to the console, her eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. The object was enormous, far larger than anything they had encountered before. And it wasn't natural. Visuals, she commanded. The viewport shifted to display the anomaly. Gasps filled the room as the crew beheld the structure. A massive sphere, dark and foreboding, loomed in the void. It encased a dying star, its surface etched with intricate patterns that glowed faintly with residual energy. A Dyson sphere, whispered Dr. Patel, his voice awestruck. abandoned by the looks of it. The builders must have been gods. Layla felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just uncharted territory. This was a relic of a civilization far beyond anything humanity or the galaxy had ever encountered. Kriltov's voice was a high-pitched squeal of panic. Turn back. Turn back now. This is why the Veil Cluster is forbidden. The ancients built their tombs here. We have no business disturbing them. Layla ignored him, her mind racing. The sphere wasn't just a mystery, it was an opportunity. Humanity had always thrived in the unknown, and this was their greatest challenge yet. Athena, she said, her voice steady, initiate a full scan of the sphere. Let's find a way inside. Captain, you can't seriously, Kriltov began, but Layla silenced him with a look. This is what we came for, she said. We're not turning back. As Odyssey's call edged closer to the massive structure, Layla felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. But she also felt the thrill of it. This was humanity's destiny, to venture where no one else dared. And nothing, not even the warnings of a terrified ambassador, would stop them. This chapter sets the stage, introducing the themes of human determination and exploration while establishing the tension between humanity's daring nature and the galaxy's caution. Let me know if you'd like any tweaks. The massive Dyson sphere loomed before them, dark and silent against the backdrop of the distant stars. Odyssey's call was now close enough for its full scale to sink in. The ship, an impressive vessel by human standards, seemed tiny in comparison. Its hull shuddered slightly as it hovered near the sphere's outer edge, where energy signatures flickered like dying embers. Gravitational disturbances are increasing, Lieutenant Mason reported, his hands steady on the helm. We're being pulled in closer, Captain. I can't keep us at this distance much longer without risk of being dragged inside. Understood, Layla replied, staring at the screen. The Dyson sphere's surface was jagged, almost as though it had been weathered by the ages. The intricate carvings and markings, alien symbols no one had ever seen before, glowed faintly with the last remnants of power. It was as if the sphere were waiting for something. Dr. Patel approached the command center, his eyes wide with wonder and caution. Captain, the surface, those patterns. It's an alien language, but it's so ancient. I don't know if we can decipher it in time. Focus on getting us inside first, Layla ordered. We need to see if there's any way to dock or enter the structure. We don't know what's inside. I strongly advise against it. Kriltov's voice rang out from behind them. The ambassador's gelatinous form quivered in his containment suit, his eye stalks darting around nervously. Every expedition that ventured this close to a Dyson sphere has ended in catastrophe. We'll be fine, Layla cut him off, already anticipating the same tirade she had heard on the way out. We'll proceed cautiously. We're not here to wreck things. We're here to learn. As Odyssey's call crept closer, Athena's calm voice interrupted the tension. Captain, I have detected an entry point on the sphere's equator. I am rerouting power to the thrusters. Preparing for approach. Layla felt the pulse of energy hum through the ship as the engines adjusted, bringing them to a slow, controlled orbit around the sphere. The entry point Athena detected was a dark opening, just large enough for the ship to fit through, flanked by two towering spires that looked like remnants of ancient guardians. We're approaching the entrance, Layla said, her voice focused. Mason, keep us steady. The crew worked in perfect coordination as they aligned the ship for the final approach. Dr. Patel remained at his station, his eyes darting back and forth between the scans and his notes. Captain, if these readings are accurate, this structure is older than anything in our records. It's beyond anything we could have ever imagined, which makes it all the more important we don't waste this chance, Layla replied. The ship glided closer, passing through the threshold of the Dyson sphere, and the interior was revealed. What they saw inside was even more astounding than the outside. An entire world, suspended in a hollow shell, with ecosystems and landscapes stretching beneath a simulated sky. It was like a bizarre version of Earth itself, a place so perfect yet so unnatural. Kriltov was at his breaking point. This is madness. We should leave immediately. This place is cursed. But Layla remained calm, her focus sharp. Stay on task, Ambassador. We're not going anywhere yet. We have a long way to go before we understand what we're dealing with. The ship descended gently into the spherical world, its systems humming with life, ready to begin their exploration. As they landed in an expansive open area, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to glow faintly in the dark, the team was ready to begin their first steps on this alien world. But even as Layla stood at the front of the crew, her heart pounding with the thrill of discovery, she knew there was more to this place than met the eye. This was no ordinary ruin, it was a warning. And whatever secrets it held, they were not meant to be uncovered easily. But humanity had never shied away from challenges. This would be no different. Let's get to work, she said, and be ready for anything. This chapter expands the mystery of the Dyson sphere while showcasing the crew's determination to explore. It sets up the looming danger, reinforcing that despite the warnings, the human spirit will drive them forward. Let me know if you'd like to add or modify anything. The atmosphere inside the Dyson sphere was surreal. It was like stepping into an alien Eden, a world of impossible beauty and eerie calm. The landscape stretched out beneath a simulated sky that shimmered in shades of blue and purple, as though it were an artificial construct designed to mimic a perfect day on an unknown planet. Towering trees with bioluminescent leaves lined the horizon, casting soft, ethereal glows across the ground. And yet, the quiet hum of the Odyssey's call's engines, as it sat docked on the surface, was the only sign of life. We've entered the heart of the sphere, Layla said, her voice quiet as she surveyed the alien environment. Her eyes were sharp, scanning for any signs of movement, anything that could indicate life or worse, danger. Dr. Patel was already scanning the surrounding area with his portable equipment, muttering to himself, This is unlike anything we've ever seen. The ecosystems are complex, almost as if this place was designed to be a refuge. Kriltov, his gelatinous form trembling, clutched his data pad. Designed? For whom? No civilization could have survived this long. We should leave. The sphere is clearly a trap. The records are clear. This place is cursed. Layla's gaze sharpened as she turned to the ambassador. You can keep repeating that, but we're not leaving without answers. We've come too far to turn back now. Mason, standing at the entrance of the ship, interrupted their exchange. Captain, you'd better see this. Layla walked toward the ramp, her boots crunching softly on the ground. She looked out, her breath catching in her throat. The landscape seemed endless, stretching toward what appeared to be a distant mountain range. But it wasn't the landscape that held her attention. It was the sky. Something was wrong. Athena's voice cut through the silence. Captain, I am detecting anomalies in the energy fields surrounding the sphere. The patterns are inconsistent, fluctuating at irregular intervals. It appears to be generating, stabilizing the star, Layla finished. The sphere is maintaining the energy of a dying star. This is how it was built, like a cosmic generator. And now it's failing. Dr. Patel's face paled. If the sphere was built to stabilize a star, then its failure could have catastrophic consequences. Layla took a deep breath, her mind already running through the possibilities. Get your team to work, Dr. Patel. I want every system on this ship checked, every piece of data analyzed. We may be dealing with something far beyond our comprehension. Mason, check the engines. We'll need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice if we need to. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled. A low, rumbling sound echoed through the sphere, reverberating like the growl of some massive, unseen creature. The trees around them shuddered as if caught in a violent storm. Kriltov's eyes widened in terror. This is it. The sphere is collapsing. We must leave now, or we will be trapped here forever. Layla gritted her teeth, her fists clenching at her sides. Stay calm. Mason, get us back to the ship. Patel, is there any way to stabilize it? The rumble intensified. Athena's voice came through again, urgent and cold. Captain, I'm detecting an incoming signal. It's coming from the center of the sphere. It's automated, but the frequency is unlike anything I've encountered. It may be a warning, or something worse. All the more reason to go, Krill Tove hissed, backing away toward the ship. But Layla wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. I need to know what's at the center of this sphere. If we leave now, we might never get another chance to find out. She glanced at her crew. Dr. Patel looked uncertain but determined, and Mason was already preparing to follow her lead. Krill Tove, however, had already started backing toward the ship, panic written across his alien features. Layla gave the command. We're going to the center. As they made their way toward the heart of the sphere, the rumbling grew louder. The ground beneath their feet was no longer stable. It felt as if they were walking on the edge of a massive, unseen machine. A machine that was starting to break down. And yet, the closer they got to the center, the more powerful the signal became. The crew couldn't turn back now, not with the answers within reach. The stakes had never been higher, and the danger was undeniable. But for Layla Diaz, the unknown was something to embrace, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. This chapter emphasizes the rising tension as the crew approaches the heart of the Dyson sphere, with increasing danger and the relentless pull of discovery. Layla's drive to uncover the truth continues to clash with Krill Tove's fear, propelling the narrative forward. Let me know if you'd like any changes or additions. The center of the Dyson sphere was nothing like the pristine, calm exterior they had passed through. Here, the air felt thicker, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath. The walls of the inner sphere loomed above them, crisscrossed with energy conduits that pulsed with a dim, erratic light. The floor beneath their feet trembled with each passing second, as if the sphere itself were alive, slowly waking from a long, dormant slumber. Layla's boots clattered against the metal grating as she stepped forward, her mind focused entirely on the task ahead. The signal had led them here, center of the sphere, where its power source, its very purpose, seemed to lie hidden. Somewhere within this metallic labyrinth, the answers they sought waited. Athena, can you pinpoint the source of the signal? Layla called, her voice steady despite the rising sense of urgency in the air. Analyzing, Athena's voice responded. The signal is emanating from the core of the sphere. It is a distress beacon, possibly a failsafe built by the creators of the sphere themselves. The crew moved swiftly, their boots echoing in the silence as they navigated the winding corridors toward the core. The rumblings of the sphere had become more pronounced now, shaking the walls, rattling the air. The atmosphere was growing unstable. Each step felt heavier, as if gravity itself was becoming more oppressive. The crew's nerves were fraying. Captain, this place, it's breaking apart, Dr. Patel said, his voice tinged with concern. If this thing goes critical, we'll be trapped. We won't be trapped, Layla snapped, though she didn't need to remind herself of the stakes. Stay focused. We're getting to the heart of this thing. It has answers, and I won't let fear stop us. Famous last words, Krill Tove grumbled, his alien voice quivering. They reached the central chamber, a massive, cavernous space, far grander than anything they had encountered inside the sphere so far. A colossal energy field surrounded a sphere within the sphere, pulsing with incredible power. The source of the distress signal was clear now, emanating from the very heart of the sphere. The moment they entered, the ground beneath them rumbled again, this time more violently. The entire chamber seemed to shake as if it were on the verge of collapsing. A high-pitched alarm blared, echoing through the air. Athena's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, the star at the heart of the sphere is destabilizing. The core is reacting to the failure. The energy field is going critical. We have minutes before a full-scale collapse. Krill Tove turned to flee, his gelatinous body quivering with fear. We have to leave. This place will implode. Layla's hand shot up, her voice fierce. Not yet. We're not leaving until we know what we're dealing with. She stepped toward the energy field. Athena, override the system. Can you stabilize the core? The ship's AI hesitated for a moment, then spoke again. Negative. The core's failsafes are locked down. You'll need to manually intervene at the heart of the field. Dr. Patel stepped forward, his face a mixture of awe and dread. This is it. The sphere was never meant to last forever. It was designed to stabilize the star to prevent its collapse. But it's failing. If we don't shut it down, it will trigger a supernova. Layla turned to her crew, her expression unwavering. We don't leave until we've stopped this from happening. We've survived too much already. Kriltov balked. You're asking for a miracle. You're talking about stopping an unstable star. Humans have a way of doing the impossible, Layla said, her gaze hardening. If we can't stabilize it, we'll figure out a way to contain it. We don't run from problems, Ambassador. We fix them. Her hands flew over the control panel, pushing aside the warnings that flashed in her vision. Sparks flew from the terminal as the energy surged around them, and the sphere rumbled again, louder this time, as if the universe itself were about to break apart. Captain, we don't have time, Patel urged, his voice rising. This place is going to... Layla interrupted, her voice commanding. Hold steady, everyone. I've got it. With a final press of a button, the chamber seemed to pause, the shaking subsiding. The energy field flickered and hummed as the star's destabilization slowed. It wasn't stable yet, but they had bought themselves time. Let's move, Layla ordered, her face set with determination. We've bought time, but we need to get back to the ship. Now! The crew, breathless but resolute, turned and made their way back toward the entrance. The sphere, though still on the edge of collapse, was now a puzzle humanity had begun to solve. As they raced back to the ship, Layla knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just a victory. It was proof of humanity's spirit. The unknown would always be their domain, and no matter how impossible the challenge, they would face it with everything they had. In this chapter, the tension peaks as the crew confronts the heart of the Dyson sphere, with Layla leading them through a high-risk situation to prevent a catastrophic collapse. It highlights the human drive to push boundaries and solve impossible problems, setting up their next move. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments.